Steph needs a true number 2 to help him. Okay. In this league, you're not doing anything without a true number 2. All right, welcome back to another episode of What Are They Going to Say Now? This is Jay and Tony, as always, and we apologize. It's been a couple weeks. You can actually probably hear my voice still a little raspy. I caught the, I don't know what it is going around. It's not COVID. It's not RSV. It's not the flu. I've heard it called I've heard it called the Kung flu. The Kung flu is going around. Wow. I don't know what the hell is with that. But yeah, my voice is good now, and this is good. It's been bad for weeks, and at least I can talk and not break out into a wheezing coughing fit. So I figured it was time we had to record.
Glad to hear you're doing a little bit better. That was tough to
brutal,
hear about, man. But yeah, how was your holidays?
It was good. Yeah,
nice.
You know, somehow the kids avoided the sickness, so
that's good.
I got it though, but yeah.
Well, it's good to be back.
Yeah, well, lots kind of happened since we last recorded. Last time we recorded, it was the incident where Draymond had choked Rudy Gobert and was suspended for that, which we said at the time we were okay with him pulling Gobert off, but then he should have let go immediately, and not dragged him in a wrestling hold halfway across the court. You know, It's just like, okay. Then he gets back in like his second game back, does that flailing swing, just hits Nurkic in the face, and it's like that was just fully dirty. It was what are you doing,
there's no way to
dude?
Defend that. Yeah. And we're Draymond defenders. I feel like
we're defenders, and we texted each other during the game. We're like, what the hell was that?
Yeah.
Like, come on, man.
Yep.
Like, hold it together. You know, it's.
Yeah. So basically, you knew something was going to happen, especially after just coming off another suspension.
It's like he just got back.
Right. So the NBA stance was basically, radio silence for a couple days, which is never good. You know, if you feel like if it's going to be nothing major, you would hear something right away, kind of. Once you knew that there was no decision right away, and then the decision came down that it was an indefinite suspension, which is, I still don't know what that means. I mean, we're what, 10 games in now, and
well, it's kind of like Kyrie was indefinitely suspended. He had to do a couple of tasks and fulfill those tasks, and so it's like that,
right?
Yeah.
You know, and I think in Draymond's case, his past definitely played a role in how they adjudicated that. Like anybody else who did a move like that,
might get a couple games,
maybe
at most,
right?
At most, yeah.
But I think, you know, it's the history of
which is fair.
It's very fair. You know, I think we both called that he was going to be suspended for the Gobert incident, and then this one, you know, I knew it was going to be something more than they had just previously done, because they're trying to send a message, basically.
Yeah.
You know,
and so we've been Draymond defenders for a while. There's a lot of bandwagon Warriors fans who drive me crazy, who are like, he cost us a ring already, and like with Game 5, you know, against the Cavs, and it's just like, shut up. He was instrumental in us winning any rings at all.
Absolutely.
Shut your mouth, bandwagoner.
Right.
We don't want you.
And that was also a completely different situation.
Now, having said that, those types of people for a while now have been saying we should get rid of them. And I was always like, you're ridiculous.
Yeah.
This is the first time where I'm kind of over it.
Okay.
I'm just like, it's like, come on, dude, like pull yourself together. I just kind of don't care anymore. I don't care anymore. It feels like the Dynasties, you can stick a fork in it. It's over.
To me, I think
not to say they couldn't do a major retool and pull off a miracle.
Right.
Not this season, but next season, because you still have Steph Curry playing great.
Yeah.
But the Dynasty as we know it, it's over.
To me, I think the difference on this one wasn't as much the acts, and because we've seen all the a bunch of different stuff from Draymond so far. I think it's the organization's reaction to it. Mainly
the collective reaction from the
Steph.
organization is like a big deep sigh.
Yeah.
Or you can insert that meme from Gone Girl with Ben Affleck outside the door smoking a cigarette. Like that's how the organization feels about it. Like,
right.
Oh God,
here we go again, right?
Yeah.
And this guy, and this is the first time I've seen that, because in the past I think Kerr has gone out of his way to go to bat for Draymond, even in scenarios where most of the league and everybody else, even other people in the organization, have been verbal about Draymond was wrong. He needs to do better. Kerr has kind of always gone to bat for. He learned, he learns his lessons, this and that. But
I don't want to say he's had it. I think he's just exhausted by it. It's just like, come on,
right?
And then now he has to hear about it and answer questions about it for weeks on end, and it's exhausting.
Yeah.
And I mean, even before this happened, it's just you could kind of tell this Warriors team, without a major retooling, like the dynasty as we know it is over. They're not winning a championship. Like
I would tend to agree. I think that in some ways 2022, as great as it was, and I really do think that was like the most amazing ring of them all, just because of all the things stacked against them.
Right.
How old they all are, how Steph kind of dragged them to that title.
Yeah.
I think that was more of an aberration than kind of like saying, "Oh, the dynasty isn't really dead." I think it was more of just kind of
it was Steph Curry's pure greatness.
Yeah,
it was Steph Curry,
right? So, I mean, I don't see this core leading them to another title. I'd agree with that.
So now, I mean, Steph Curry has to be a lifelong Warrior, no matter what. He has to be a lifelong Warrior. Yeah. I would hate to see him go. I don't think Draymond's going to end his career in Golden State. It wouldn't surprise me one bit if he ends up on the Lakers, because him and LeBron are buddies. Yeah. The Lakers could probably use him, actually. And they've been struggling. They've lost 9 of their last 12.
Yeah.
And
lost again last night.
Yeah. I think the Lakers are one of the few teams that would roll the dice on Draymond. And yeah, I just don't see Draymond retiring as a Warrior. And we always knew of the big three, he was the least likely to make it to the end. We knew Curry's come on, Warrior for life.
How about Clay?
Clay's 50-50. Interesting. He goes on nice hot streak still, but then he gets cold. His defense is still better than people make it out to be, but there's other times where it's not. It's clearly not what it was.
Well, he's clearly lost a step. I would say athletically. He was really able to guard. Those point guards, and kind of like he was an elite guard defender.
Oh, he was the best two-way guard in the league.
And he doesn't really guard
him and Kawhi
guards anymore, really. Right.
Kawhi's a forward, but
right. But now he's guarding more of the slower guys, more of the small forwards, even power forwards sometimes. So it's just I think he's had to change because of injuries and age.
I think for Clay to remain a Warrior, he's going to have to suck it up and take a lesser contract. I mean, there's a certain reality there. Him and his agent will probably have to test the market and see what kind of offers are out there.
Right.
Yeah.
It's going to be interesting. I know he's got a lot of pride, and I'm sure he believes that he's worth more than the contract that he's going to be offered. But at this point in his career, if he wants to retire a Warrior and not kind of jump around and go who knows where for a big paycheck, you're right. I think he's going to have to kind of suck it up and
and what's interesting is
figure that out.
The Warriors kind of abandoned the 2 timeline thing, even though they won a chip during it with Kuminga's rookie year and Moody's rookie year, and who both played in the finals and throughout the postseason. Oddly enough, this last draft is looking so fantastic that the 2 timeline thing is sort of restarted, except maybe the only old part of that timeline is Curry.
I mean, the starters aren't as good as
Brandon Podziemski, and Tyrese Davis Jr. looking like great draft picks.
Yep.
And
Trace,
I'm sorry, Trace. I said Tyreek,
yeah.
didn't I? Trace.
You think Tyreek Hill or
Yeah,
Tyreek?
I don't know. Yeah, Trace. So those
Jackson
are
Davis,
great draft picks. Kuminga's playing really well.
Yeah, I agree.
Moody's hit and miss. He can be really good, but then his shot's been kind of inconsistent.
Well,
his defense has been good, though.
I like Moody a lot. And I tend to scroll the Twitters, the X. Sorry, it's not Twitter anymore. During games, and there's a lot of people who are frustrated with Moody's lack of playing time.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like
if his shot has been more consistent, he'd be getting more minutes.
I don't
because you're gonna pull Clay to put Moody in because Clay's not shooting well, but then Moody's not shooting well. It's just
I think Moody has the shortest leash of any of the fringe, I would say, off the bench kind of role players. I don't know if I feel like there's something that's keeping him in Steve Kerr's doghouse, because even the last game, we're recording this on Tuesday night's game. We had Gary Payton II out there, which was great.
And then he got hurt.
He gets hurt, so I'm like, okay, after the shock of that, and that's a bummer because he's going to be out at least 3 weeks, according to Anthony Slater, which is not good. I'm like, okay, at least Moody's going to get some run here. Another DNP, 2 straight DNPs. So I don't understand the logic behind that.
There might be behind the scenes dynamics that we don't understand, I guess.
I guess. But I mean, Kuminga is playing very well, but he's definitely gone through similar stretches as Moody, I would say, and gotten playing time.
Well, and Kerr alluded to also, though, oddly, this team is too deep. There's too many players that are kind of on the fringe of getting minutes or on the bench and are worthy, and there's like too much of a glut of that. And so maybe what the Warriors need to do, by the way, they're not top heavy enough anymore.
Yeah.
Because Clay and Draymond are not on Steph's top level.
Right. Wiggins,
so maybe,
to be honest,
and Wiggins has dropped too.
Yeah.
Maybe what the Warriors do is put a package together. Steph needs a true number 2 to help him. Okay. In this league, you're not doing anything without a true number 2. Clay is not a true number 2 anymore. He's not. Draymond isn't anymore either. He does his thing on defense, and he's a fulcrum of the defense and kind of all that. It's tough to assess him. He was never a number 2, but he's always like a real important number 3 in the quarterback of the defense. So he's tough to like put that way. But in terms of like a guy who can make buckets efficiently and play some D, the Warriors need a true number 2. So maybe they need to put a package together, lose some of that depth, which makes Kerr's decision easier on who's getting minutes, because that's a problem, like we're talking about.
So you're basically saying that
they need to blow it up.
Moody not playing anyways could make him an expendable piece in a trade.
Maybe. I don't know. I don't know who.
And maybe that's
Yeah, but I mean, we could see this turn into. I'm talking about next season.
Oh, okay. So you're not even thinking a big move at trade deadline.
Well, maybe a move this season in the direction of next season. Like it's not even about this year.
I just feel bad.
Like a building block. But I think if the Warriors are going to compete next year, it's going to be Steph, a new number 2, whatever package that comes in. I have no idea what it would look like or who I'm even talking about, but a new true number 2 to go with Curry, and then some really young, talented players as the supporting cast.
So you're talking about a retool, a blowing up the dynasty.
Yeah, not a rebuild, but a retool.
Okay.
Like a big retool.
Okay.
I think that's, at this point, I think that's the logical move.
Yeah. So what are your feelings on like CP3? As far as like, is he part of the future? Is he someone you would?
He's too old.
Okay, so you would be looking to unload him ASAP?
No, he could be part of it. Well, I don't know.
It's hard. This is the problem. Is they have a lot of pieces that are aging, that have well, CP3 doesn't have a big contract. He's expiring. That's actually a good piece to trade. But
yeah,
I'm
he is
talking
actually a
about
trade
Clay,
piece.
Draymond, these guys that want big money or that are in big money. How are you getting a number 2 with some of these pieces that they have? Their situation is not ideal to, make a move. And there's not really a bunch of moves to make out there. I hear a lot of people talking about Siakam, especially now that OG Anunoby went to New York.
Yeah.
That was another guy that the Warriors were looking at.
By the way,
not a lot of
Toronto really blew it with Anunoby. For what they got for him and that trade to the Knicks. They were being offered way more than that before the beginning of last season, or middle last season. Remember, it was talk of players and multiple first-round draft picks.
Right.
And they passed on it, and they weren't contenders.
And
then they waited, and then they trade them this year for way less.
Yeah.
They totally botched that.
Well, I think they like Quickly a lot, Emmanuel Quickly.
Yeah, RJ Barrett.
RJ Barrett, and I believe
he's hit and miss.
Did get a pick, right? Did they get a
second rounder?
Pick? Oh, it was a second rounder.
But they were being offered multiple first rounders.
Yeah.
And players.
Well, that's the gamble. I think they,
it was a dumb gamble. They weren't competitive.
Masai Ujiri's very, he kind of wants everything or nothing, and I think they gambled on his value going up and up, and he's kind of had a little bit more of a down year. I know we're transitioning a little bit away from the Warriors, but I mean that's just. I kind of feel like that's the gamble. Sometimes you don't strike when the iron's hot like that, and you might have to take a little bit less than you wanted. But it's tough. So that's the question though. Do they blow it up? Do they say, okay, we're getting rid of Siakam? I don't think they'll get rid of what's the young guy they really like.
I mean, the Warriors have been interested in Siakam for a couple of years now. He always comes up in trade rumors. I don't know if he's the perfect number 2. Honestly, I could see a 3-way trade between the Warriors, the Lakers, and Toronto.
Interesting.
In which Draymond ends up on the Lakers, Siakam ends up on the Warriors, and then other players and pieces, and
Toronto gets draft capital.
Pulled up a trade machine, but for all the money to work. But something like that, I could see happening.
Okay, interesting. Yeah,
because we know the Lakers would be interested in Draymond.
Oh yeah,
with LeBron.
Right.
We know the Warriors are interested in Siakam. Toronto's blowing it up.
Well, I know
we have some young players that they might be interested in. LA has some too.
Yeah,
something like that. I could see some kind of big package, like a mega trade.
LA's also looking at like Zach LaVine, some other potential moves. So I don't have a good sense of what they're. What they're trying to do. And then if you get LeBron plus Draymond plus AD, then you've got, AD's still pretty young, but LeBron and Draymond who are
that's a nasty
it is. I'm just saying
I'm saying
that's
a nasty defensive team.
It is. But your offense I don't think it's any better, especially if they were to give away like an Austin Reeves or what I mean, some kind of
but Draymond can act like a point guard too.
Yeah.
Take some of that off LeBron.
Yeah. I just don't think they have enough shooting as it is. So.
No, I know. Well, I said there'd be other pieces. It could be some kind of mega trade.
Yeah.
I'm just saying. I think if we see a deal like this with Draymond going, maybe Siakam, it's not going to be a straight up one team trade. It's going to be different multi-team. It could be like 4 teams. Who knows? It gets crazy. We're going to see what Dunleavy can do. Dunleavy's done a good job as Warriors GM.
I think so. And he's
got us out of that Jordan Poole contract, which. Everyone's like, oh, Poole's going to lead the league in scoring in Washington. It's like, are you sure about that?
Lead the league in losses.
Yeah. He's leading the league in Shaq'd in the Fool highlights.
Yeah, he's he's had a rough go of it in Washington. But I will say, I know you're not a Poole guy.
I used to be.
Yeah. Well, I will say that they miss some of his dynamic playmaking ability sometimes. Like
not the turnovers.
Break. No, not the turnovers. I'm just talking about like when the offense gets stagnant, how he was able to make a quick move, quick shot, the explosiveness from the guard position. They still have it in Kuminga. Podziemski is actually, I would say he kind of gives you some of that, but I'll
take Pods over Jordan Poole.
He's been really impressive. I just think, it's hard to rely.
Could quietly be in like rookie of the year conversation. He's not going to be, but I bet you he gets some votes.
He's solid.
But I bet you he gets some top like 5 votes, like
Yeah,
for
that's
the 4th or
possible.
5th spot.
Yeah, yeah.
He won't get any top 3 votes, but like 4th or 5th, he might get some votes.
Yeah, that's definitely been a bright spot of this year is how they did in the draft.
Yeah.
The rookies playing as well as they have, because honestly,
so again, Dunleavy's done a great job so far.
Yeah, without
and
that,
Bob Myers is probably so relieved to be out of it with all the Clay and Draymond stuff.
Have you seen him do like the?
He was just on ESPN
promos
yesterday.
He just looks very relaxed and happy to not have to be dealing with. Honestly, I think Draymond was a big reason for him saying, you know what, I'm out.
Well, he said flat out the whole Draymond and Clay situations coming up in contracts. That he's like, I love these guys, everything we went through together, and he just didn't want to like be a part of.
I get it. Of dismantling it.
Yeah, it's like good time to walk away. So.
Yeah, I get it. So we'll see. I just feel like the Warriors are just a big question mark right now. I don't know. I feel like they have pieces to go on like a mini run of like making us feel like okay, like they're kind of rounding into form.
And there might be a trade that really transforms things.
There might. Yeah.
Look what happened with the Lakers last year before the trade deadline, and that transformed their team. So we'll see if Dunleavy has something up his sleeve.
Yep, absolutely.
Also, given everything that's happened, he is now free to trade Draymond without the fans revolting. They'll be like, okay, we see it.
So I did want to bring that up quickly. I know we're going a little long on Warriors, but I mean, it's kind of what we do, right?
Yeah.
But some of the kind of statements and things around the whole situation have been a little odd too. You know, they talked to Steve Kerr. I think I talked to you about this. Sent you the video. They talked to Steve Kerr, and I believe Anthony Slater again from the Athletic asked the question of, you know, it's been 10 games since Draymond's been suspended. Has he been, you know, what's going on?
Is he at practice?
Where's he
at? He's allowed to practice?
Yeah,
nope.
Nothing. You know, Kerr's basically like...
It's like, I've got some text messages.
Texts, yeah. And you know, he made a statement like, we're giving him space and he's giving us space. And I'm like, what does that mean? Really just some weird, you know, some bad vibes coming out of it.
That's why I say a Draymond trade would not surprise me.
Well, and that's some of the questions that people were asking right after the incident was, do we see Draymond play in a Warriors uniform again? Now, some of the news today, I don't know if I think I sent you the tweet that
back in the practice.
Well, that he's ramping up. Which is, you know, a term they love to use. But I'm wondering if that's because of the question the other night and Kerr's kind of answer. Maybe the Warriors are kind of like, okay, we got to bring him. Or maybe he said, I got to get back into the fold, you know. Mm-hmm. I don't know. It's just weird, man. I never thought we'd be here with.
I feel bad for Curry. He doesn't deserve all this.
No.
Deal with all this.
Right.
Kerr.
Yeah, both of them. Yeah. So, you know, I just feel like either he comes back into the fold and kind of whatever is going on and whatever's making him, you know, act the way he's acting, he kind of can tone it down a little bit. Some of that's always going to be there, right? Because it's Draymond. And I feel like if you ask him to not do any of that and be like the, you know, NBA's greatest citizen, like that, it's not the version of Draymond.
He just needs to tone it down and get under control.
Yeah, just get under control. You know, don't make those stupid, you know, reckless decisions, like spur of the moment things. Like, just walk to the other end of the court and whatever you have to do. Like, you know, I don't know, but or if he's not going to change and maybe his time has just run out, maybe this is just the best time to say, you know what? It's been a great run. We won 4 titles. We couldn't have done it without you. We love you, man. See ya.
Yeah, that's what I think is going to happen.
And you know what? I don't think anybody in the organization right now would be shedding tears. I think it would be more of like a, you know, dang, I wish it could have ended differently. But the Warriors have to move on one way or the other. Yeah. So we'll see. But
let's talk about the rest of the league.
Yeah.
Any other? Okay. You know, Timberwolves in first place right now,
really
a little bit.
Anthony Edwards.
Yeah, you know, this is what I expected more from them last year. They kind of shit the bed last year. But here's the thing. I don't want to say I don't believe in them. I think they're going to be fine during the regular season. I'm still skeptical of that lineup in the playoffs.
Same.
playoff basketball is different. Multiple games in a row, adjustments.
You can scout them more. You can game plan more.
Yeah. So I'm not saying they're frauds. They're not. No. But we'll see what happens in the postseason. I think they're going to have trouble with Denver. And I'll tell you the team, I don't want to say it surprises me because I listed them as jumping up the board even further this year after squeaking the playoffs last year, is the OKC Thunder.
I was going to mention them.
That team is stacked with young talent.
Shai Gilgeous, I think he's going to be on some MVP ballots. I know we don't talk MVP, but
yeah, he's definitely
we don't talk MVP, but
until later on, I know. But I mean, he's become one of the best players in the league.
Did you see what he did to Boston the other night?
Well, he made All Pro last year, didn't he? All NBA.
He did. Yeah.
I mean. And I mean, he put up crazy numbers last year, and we were saying he didn't get
Team Canada. Remember that?
He didn't get any
US.
He didn't get many MVP votes because it was really, especially the second half of last year that he really came on.
Yeah.
And sometimes they're like, well, you have to do it a year and really show it, and then the following year you get that more respect. Mm-hmm. And he's come through, and he's gotten better.
Yeah, I mean they're very deep. Chet Holmgren is. I mean, I know they talk about Wembanyama Rookie of the Year, but I'm just saying, I know we're not talking about awards yet, but I'm just saying it's not a runaway for Wembanyama at all, in my opinion.
No.
Way better team, OKC, and I mean, he's legit.
It's kind of cool to see all these young players putting it together on that team, too. Yeah. They're super young.
Super young. They've got a bunch of flexibility. I mean, the draft capital they have is probably, some of the best ever. That the amount of picks they have upcoming, the amount of they can make small moves, they could package a bunch of their picks and get another star in there. They can do a bunch of different stuff. So that they're definitely a team. I think I said that last year, maybe even coming into this year, like they're going to be scary in like 2 to 3 years time, and they're ahead of schedule.
Yeah, they're ahead of schedule. The Mavericks started out real hot, and we said, I don't expect that to last. They're going to slide down, and they have. They're in the 7th seed right now.
Stuff, right? I think Kyrie's been injured a little. Luka's been really good. I think he's going to get MVP votes, too.
I would say the Suns, the Lakers, and the Warriors are all been very disappointing.
Yeah.
The Suns I was skeptical of that team, because with Beal, and granted, they can not be on the floor together. No one can stay healthy at the same time.
Beal's been hurt a lot, yeah.
Yeah, and it's just one or the other. So, that Suns team's probably pretty disappointing. They're 18-16 right now in the 9 spot. Lakers are 17-18 in the 10 spot. Warriors 16-17 in the 11 spot. That's it's a long season. I expect all 3 of those teams to move up.
I was just going to ask you that. Who of those 3 teams do you think is going to make the biggest kind of flip?
I still think all 3 of those teams make the playoffs.
Okay, so they'll all be a couple spots up from where they are now,
or at least the play in.
In the play in, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, gotcha.
The Rockets are 17-15.
They're going to drop.
Yeah.
No question.
The Clippers are looking good lately. They're in the 4th seed, 21-12. Will they stay healthy?
I mean, I will say that the vibe around them feels a little bit different this year. Maybe it's just that they've all been healthy. Maybe we just have never seen that. But there just feels like a vibe around them.
Well, we know the talent's there.
The talent's there, but it feels like they feel like, especially because nobody's running away with the West. Like you said, Minnesota number 1. Maybe they feel like, hey, this is the year we can.
Minnesota's only up on by 1 game
on the Clippers.
On Denver. And,
on Denver, yeah. And Clippers aren't far behind. So
and the Thunder. And the Thunder are right there.
Right. And I would say that Denver's actually been a little not as dominant as I kind of expected the regular season of them.
There's a championship hangover.
Yeah.
I expect Denver later in the season. I expect Denver to turn it on too, a little bit.
Yeah.
It happens. We see it all the time.
The Warriors did it in their championship runs.
Yeah, I mean everybody does it. We saw the Cavs do it too, and over in the East,
West, I'm thinking, I don't think so.
Over in the East, the Celtics just rock solid.
Yeah, they lost a couple of games to Western contenders. The Warriors game,
right,
before Christmas, I believe, right?
The Warriors are kind of in their head a little bit.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that was a Steph, dropped his balls on the court and said, "Hey,
Yeah. So the
I still
Bucks,
run this."
the Bucks are in the 2 seed at 24-10. Now the Bucks are a team where Giannis is great. Kind of, I have the whole Lillard Giannis thing. I same thing I said about Minnesota. I think they're going to roll through the regular season, but what is going to happen in the playoffs? And you know, their defense at the guard position with Lillard and all that in an actual playoff matchup, does that become a problem? Regular season and playoffs, totally different. I'm not saying, but they also have Giannis, so I'm not saying they're frauds either. But I'm just skeptical. Not skeptical, just I want to see what happens in the playoffs with them versus regular season.
Yeah, I think it's going to depend on matchups a lot for them. Like you said, the defense is a little suspect. I think they miss Drew Holiday a lot, honestly. I know that
defensively for sure.
Lillard gives them like the offensive kind of, I mean, it's a juggernaut. But
he's also a problem on defense,
Yep.
And so right behind them, you
Philly,
got
man.
Philly. Embiid's playing great. But again, with Philly, we see this all the time. Are they going to wear down by the end of the season?
Yeah.
I don't know. Big leap this year for Maxey. He's playing really well.
Well, and it was interesting with the whole Harden saga. A lot of people said, "Oh, losing Harden is going to be, they're just going to drop off a cliff." And this. But
now Maxey gets the ball more and gets more looks.
I mean, to me, it's a way better fit. You don't have that ball stopper, and it's just they've been really, really good, man. So good coaching too.
Yeah, following up there, you got Heat.
I'm not the biggest Doc Rivers guy, so.
Yeah, I know. I mean, that
you know
goes
what
a long
I mean?
way.
I'm just saying, you get a championship coach in there.
Well, Nurse is a good coach.
I know, that's what I'm saying. I know Rivers did win a title, but 2008, I'm just saying.
Yeah, he had Garnett and the trio, Anyway, Heat, Pacers. The Orlando Magic are a bit of a surprise.
Pacers are surprising.
The Magic are
too,
playing
man.
well.
Yeah.
Pacers. Well, I mean, he might even win Most Improved Player.
Halliburton.
He's looking really good.
Really good.
He might get some MVP votes if he keeps.
I feel like that's a team that gets so much out of their players. It's kind of like a Miami Heat of like that. They run a really good system and they have a great leader in Halliburton. But they get maximum effort out of that team, man. Really impressive, I think, and he's another guy who's gonna be getting some, probably not MVP votes, but definitely some most improved kind of. He's on everybody's radar now. Halliburton, the stuff he's been doing in the in-season tournament, he was really good.
He's also just been extremely efficient. Extremely efficient.
Yeah.
He's not turning the ball over. Tons of assists.
How do you think? Do you think Sacramento is still happy with that trade?
I think so for right now, but because I mean,
they would be a completely different team, right?
Could you have Halliburton and Fox? Because Fox has been great too.
That's the question,
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Too many cooks in the kitchen. So I think they're okay with
two small guards.
If Halliburton turns into a legit MVP contender, they're going to regret it. But on the other hand, it still wasn't a bad trade.
No,
Sabonis is a good player.
For both teams. It's interesting, So
yeah. And both teams are playing well. Yeah. Really, so for the East, I think there's only two surprises. The Magic are 19-15.
Yeah, they're
playing well.
They're dropping a little bit, right? They lost.
They lost
the Warriors the other night and to Sacramento last. Did you see the game last night?
Yeah,
that was pretty good. It went to double overtime. That was a good game.
At the bottom of that conference, you got the Bulls, Raptors, Hornets, Wizards, Pistons. No surprises there. Now the Hawks are 14-19. That's a surprise.
Yeah.
That might be the biggest negative surprise so far.
I don't know. I don't know if I'm super surprised on that. I feel like
they had Quinn Snyder in there last year, and he went on a nice run with them, and they looked good in the playoffs.
I just
that
didn't
surprises
like the fit
me.
Of
Trey.
I
I think they're going to turn it around though.
I didn't like the fit of Trey and DeJounte. I don't feel like they have enough defense and scoring power from other positions, right? It's kind of guard heavy. I feel like there's a move coming there somehow.
I can see that.
I know the
I
New
did
York
not
Knicks.
expect them to be 14-19 at this point.
Right, that's true. That is a surprise.
I thought they might be around 500 or something.
Yeah, that's true. I will say the New York Knicks have been making a lot of noise recently, especially with this OG trade. He kind of fits.
I think the Knicks
what they
did
do
very well in that trade.
He
I
kind
think
of
it was
fits.
a really good trade for the Knicks.
He's such a Thibodeau player. Like,
Yeah.
I mean,
and they've won a couple games in a row since that trade.
Yeah, I mean, he's solid. He's a great defender. You know, I wouldn't say he's like an offensive juggernaut, but he can hit the threes, and he's relentless around the rim.
He's serviceable.
Yeah, so I mean, I think it's a really good fit for New York, and I'm interested to see, you know, because I tend to like hear a lot about them being out here in the East Coast. So I'm just interested to see, like, does this take them to like not? I don't think they're a contender still, but I feel like they're a team that can give a contending team in the East a really good run. You know, like you put them against like Philly in a series or something. Like, I feel like it would just be crazy.
And they're going to be better defensively now too.
Yeah. Oh yeah. So it'll be interesting.
Well, anyway, I think that's good for the NBA. Let's do a little NFL. We got the final weekend of the season coming up.
Yep.
Let's not get into all the awards overall yet, but I do want to bring up the whole ridiculousness of the NFL MVP conversation and how it works.
Well, Lamar beat the Niners, so he's the MVP, right?
Yeah. Based on one game late in the season, it's also worth noting Baltimore has the best defense in the league.
Right.
The Niners' run defense is actually pretty bad. Not that the Niners' defense overall is bad, but their run defense is bad.
Mm-hmm.
And so, I mean, okay, that Christmas Day game, the Ravens took it to the Niners. But sometimes in the NFL, it's only a couple of plays that can be fluky. Not saying the Ravens didn't outplay them. They did.
Yeah. And Purdy had a bad game.
But also Purdy's game, okay, the first interception, bad. Yeah. Really the only one I have a problem with. Second one was a weird deflection off the receiver's hand. The third one was a weird deflection off the receiver's hand.
Mm-hmm.
The fourth one, he got hit in the arm while he was throwing it. So honestly, the only interception I was like, was the first one.
Yeah.
On top of that, in the first half of that game, despite 3 interceptions, the Niners had 230 yards of offense against the best defense in the NFL.
Yeah.
So interceptions are a big deal. Also, Lamar came on with short fields getting the ball, right? And Lamar. So here's the thing: is Lamar Jackson a worthy MVP candidate? Yes. Is Brock Purdy a worthy MVP candidate? Yes. I could point to.
How about McCaffrey?
Purdy. Well, hang on. Purdy has more yards, way higher yards per attempt,
right.
more touchdowns, higher QBR, higher passer rating. But recency bias. Lamar outplayed them head to head in December.
Right.
Recency bias. If that happened early in the season, it would have been forgotten.
Yeah.
So it's a little goofy how that works. I hate how it has to be a quarterback because, in my opinion, the MVP is that jersey right there behind me.
CMC, baby.
Christian McCaffrey. Leads the league in touchdowns for non-quarterbacks.
Yeah.
Over 2,000 all-purpose yards. 5.4 yards per carry. And this is on a team that's also stacked with other talent, meaning he's not even being used as a bell cow.
Right.
Like they give the ball to Debo, Ayuk, like they're George Kittle.
Mm-hmm.
And he's still putting up ridiculous numbers, the kind you would see on a team that doesn't have a bunch of playmakers. Full team of playmakers, and he's still putting up numbers like that. Yep. It's insane. MVP is tough because you get into the whole conversation of, well, what is valuable? And obviously quarterback position is the most valuable.
Yeah.
And that's why it always goes that way. Who is the best player in the National Football League? Christian McCaffrey is.
Yeah.
He's the best.
Right.
So he'll win Offensive Player of the Year, probably in a slam dunk, right? It's just, why don't they just call the MVP award like Quarterback of the Year at this point? I mean,
it would make sense. Basically what they equate it to. So.
I mean, did you know Jerry Rice, the best receiver of all time, and maybe the GOAT in like sports, like statistically, never won an MVP award?
It's ridiculous.
So, I mean, that tells you all you need to know.
Yeah.
So, it's, do I think Purdy actually had a slightly better season than Lamar overall? Because Lamar had the best defense in the league behind him.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I'm not upset that's going to go to Lamar. It's fine. Yeah. Whatever. Purdy can get Super Bowl MVP instead. How about that?
There you go.
Yeah.
Yeah. I have a feeling we're going to see them again.
The Christmas Day rematch.
I'm just going to say that. I'm just going to say it. I have a feeling we're going to see them again.
Christmas Day rematch is happening in the Super Bowl. The odds of that are so high.
I would be very. That would be a very. It would be a very good game. I don't see it going like it went last time, but hey, you never know.
No, it'll be a much better game because it was a little fluky what happened. Yeah. Baltimore deserved to win, don't get me wrong. Yeah. But it was a little fluky. There was a couple things that happened. So, but this brings up an interesting question. Both these teams are the locked 1 seed. The final game of the week doesn't matter for them. They have the first round bye. The Niners are not playing Christian McCaffrey, who has a banged up calf, so that's obvious. They're going to sit Purdy.
Yeah.
The Ravens are going to sit Lamar. Both 1 seeds are doing this. I totally understand in both cases for both quarterbacks. You don't want them to get hurt in a game that doesn't matter. But I am a little concerned that both quarterbacks are going to go 21 days between games. That's a long time.
Rest versus rust?
Yeah, rest versus rust. And I mean, that's a long time, 21 days.
Yeah, it is. I will say, I feel like for me, like seeing how Purdy kind of struggled early in the season with the 3-game losing streak and what the bye week did for him.
That's true.
I felt like that was a really good thing, and I feel like he kind of needs that time to, practice a little bit, just rest. It's been a grueling season, man. I mean, I get it, and it's probably the decision I would make too. Yeah, because also, I mean, our season ended last year on the first drive of the NFC Championship when Purdy got hurt. So you risk, Sam Darnold's a good backup, and actually, I will say having a full week with the starting crew, that's
or
not
most
a bad
of the starting
thing.
crew for Sam Darnold is not a bad thing.
You never know.
Yeah. So, and same thing for Baltimore. Lamar Jackson has injury history, especially because he's such a physical running quarterback.
Yeah, I just think
so. It makes sense.
It's a risk. It's definitely a risk.
It is just that's a long time.
It is. So I think there'll be some simulated. Some not.
I'm sure there's sports science. I'm sure there's sports science and a lot of data that backs up that decision too.
100%. Yeah. So. And it'll be so. Is there any indication of who they would play first round, or is that way too?
Because like
none of the wild card seedings or matchups have been figured out yet.
No. Okay. And then also because remember, you wouldn't even know because every round the NFL reseeds.
Right. Okay. Gotcha.
So
depending on wild cards on
Saturday, we won't know who the Niners are going to play until after week 1 of the playoffs.
Okay.
So
interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
So that gives you a little more scouting time too, as far as Yeah,
you can make your probably after this Sunday when all the playoff spots are set. You can probably make some assumptions of who might win some of those games, and I'm sure Shanahan will start semi-scouting the ones that he thinks they're most likely to play.
Yep.
Okay.
Interesting. All right. Any other NFL seeding things or
I want to get into our player awards, but we'll do that next week.
Okay.
All the award categories and who we would pick.
Who would you say? Okay, so we already said or I think I don't want to put words in your mouth. I think I could see Niners and Ravens Super Bowl matchup. Is there anybody else on either side who you think could challenge
end
that?
Up there?
Yeah.
Okay. So let's go NFC.
We're just doing this off the fly. We didn't talk about it beforehand or anything.
The Cowboys, the Niners own them. The Niners are a really bad matchup for the Cowboys.
Yeah.
Detroit doesn't have many great wins. They had a great season. Good for them. Happy for them. Jared Goff.
I think
Jared Goff
to do it.
Jared Goff should have made the Pro Bowl over Matt Stafford.
Okay.
He had better numbers on the team with more wins.
Okay.
Ironically, those two players got traded for each other. But I don't really believe in Detroit. I think maybe next year they'll be more formidable. Yep. But when they've played good teams, they've lost.
Yeah.
They have a lot of wins against bad teams.
Got you. Okay.
They totally got screwed against Dallas.
Oh, yeah.
And the refs. That's nonsense. And the NFL doubles down on it. It's like, come on, man. There's video.
Now.
Like,
yeah.
The NFL likes to gaslight.
Yeah.
They cannot admit fault.
Right.
It's like, come on, we all saw what happened. What are you talking about?
Right.
So,
so anybody else?
The Eagles are a mess. They just lost to the Cardinals. Thank you, Cardinals, giving us the 1 seed. And
I still feel like they're dangerous. I will say that. I know, dude. I know they're
the
struggling.
Eagles,
They look
they
terrible.
can still be dangerous if they put it together, for sure. They have talent there.
All they need to do is go on a playoff run.
Yeah. They're still dangerous. Yeah. That's about it. For the East,
I would have the Eagles as my team, as the other team that I could see possibly getting there, other than the Niners.
Yeah.
If they were to go on a run, and everybody else, I'm kind of like I'm not worried.
For the East, obviously the Ravens.
Yep.
I'll tell you what, Cleveland with Joe Flacco is kind of interesting. They have a great defense.
Okay.
Flacco's playing great. Also, it would be amazing to see former Ravens quarterback, Super Bowl MVP winning quarterback for Baltimore on the Browns of all teams, upset them. Remember, Baltimore stole that franchise from Cleveland.
That's right.
So they hate each other more than any two fan bases hate each other.
Wow. Oh, now I want to see that matchup.
So the Browns are like, oh, we have your old quarterback and we beat you. Like, that would be amazing. I don't see it happening.
No.
But the Browns do have a formidable defense. And in a playoff game with a good defense, you never know what could happen.
Right.
What about Myles Garrett comes in and knocks the ball away from Lamar and they can run back for a touchdown. Playoff games are weird. Kansas City is always a threat, even though they've been very inconsistent this year.
I kind of feel like them, like I feel about Philly. Like they've just been weirdly not great this year. Miami
can be flashy, but then they can get killed and look really bad.
Yeah.
All over the place. But again, so they could just have it that week.
Yeah.
Very inconsistent, I guess. They have a good record. The Bills, we don't even know if they're in yet. They have to win this weekend.
Yeah.
The Bills, if they win this weekend, could be the 2 seed, or if they lose, they might miss the playoffs.
That's insane. How does that work?
It's just division seeding.
That's
and
crazy.
Yeah.
Wow. So if you had to pick a team outside of Baltimore to make a run and get to the Super Bowl in the AFC, who would you have?
So I want to say
Kansas
Miami,
City.
but it wouldn't be.
Oh, you said Miami.
No, but it wouldn't be head to head because we just saw the Ravens curb stomp Miami.
Okay.
I guess it has to be Kansas City just because they've been there.
Yeah.
They haven't been very impressive this year. Mahomes didn't really have that great a year. He threw a lot of ugly interceptions.
Yeah.
I guess I probably have to say Kansas City just because they've been there.
Interesting.
Right. Who knows? The Bills have been wildly inconsistent, but then when they look good, they're good.
They go on a run too. Yeah.
But I mean, I'm not betting against Baltimore for the East, and again, I'm not betting against the Niners for the West.
Right.
I bet you if you go look at the odds, Niners Ravens, the odds for them facing are through the roof. Because they're just
the two best teams all year. Yeah.
They are the clear number one seeds of each conference, and it's not even close. Okay. So
interesting. All right.
Yeah.
We'll
I guess my second choice for the NFC, if someone's going to upset the Niners, it would be Detroit. No, see, I don't.
I said Eagles, but
Eagles, but I don't believe in them either.
That one's harder to believe for me.
Honestly, both.
I have
a tough time seeing it not be the Niners versus Ravens. I have a real tough time seeing it.
Got you. Okay, interesting. All right. What are the odds on? You said the odds aren't great, right? Like if you want to throw some money down, because that's the.
Oh no, I said if we looked it up, the odds. Are that it'll be those two teams.
Right. Yeah. Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah. The payout wouldn't be great on that bet. It's like everyone's expecting that.
Okay. So I should go put money down on Cowboys. Cleveland Browns.
Oh God.
That'd be a horrible Super Bowl, wouldn't it? We'll see.
Actually,
what happens,
I take for the East.
I would like.
I think if any. Actually, I think Cleveland has
a good bet.
No. I think if someone's going to upset the Ravens,
okay, yeah.
Cleveland, just because they have a great defense and Flacco's playing great, and he's been there, and he's got nothing to lose. He's playing with house money.
They beat up on the Niners. I don't know if you remember that game.
The Niners missed a field goal to win it, but
but their defense is tough as well.
Yeah, it was in the rain and a lot of factors, but but they have a good defense. And then the postseason defense, my only concern about the Niners, that run defense is a problem. They're 26th in the league in run defense.
Yeah, but who do they? I mean, besides Baltimore, who are they going to play that they're going to be challenged on the ground?
I just mean in general. It's a little concerning.
Yeah, I got you. Interesting. Well, we'll see, man. I'm sure we should definitely do once we know what the matchups are, and probably
Well,
even next
yeah,
week after the
we'll do a
games. Yeah.
a full playoff predictions for
Nice.
round one
Okay.
after this Sunday, so
Cool.
next week,
Nice.
and then we'll get into some other stuff. We need to talk about
Okay.
live golf and all
Yeah,
that,
we might
but,
have another guest on for that one, or maybe a
yeah,
returning guest.
yeah.
I don't
So
know.
cool.
Cool.
All
man.
right. Well,
right.
good to finally get back on here. Sorry for the delay for our listeners. We'll be back on the regular routine unless one of us gets sick and loses his voice again.
You never know. Could be me this time. I don't know.
Yeah. So, but anyway, thanks for listening. Thank you for subscribing, and feel free to give feedback in the comments.
Absolutely. Peace.